You're listening to Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall on CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. Afternoon, Jim.
Hello, Aaron. Welcome back.
Thank
How
you.
You doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, Zanzibar, for crying out loud. You know, you're obviously a polished world traveler, but you'll never be as big a nerd as I am. And when I saw that from your pictures you were in Zanzibar, I said, he's finally stood on Zanzibar, which, of course, is a reference to the seminal 1960s science fiction novel, Stand on Zanzibar.
Of course, yeah.
Which predicted kind of the internet, global economies, and same-sex marriage.
Which is, of course, Jim, the reason why I felt the need to be there to
Freddie
begin with.
Mercury.
Of course, yeah. Also, Freddie Mercury.
No,
is from Zanzibar.
I figured that you just went there because you would run out of other letters on
That's
the
right.
alphabet.
I'm down to Z. That's where I want to go. Zanzibar, and next will be Zambia. So I'm already looking forward to
I want
that.
you to know you missed out on a very nice hat that Aaron was wearing earlier today,
Yeah.
Jim. We'll maybe send you some photos.
Okay, last question on this, though. Did you buy any T-shirts when you're down there?
I did not, no.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
Why?
More on that later.
Oh, I see. Okay. I
How
didn't.
about that REM, eh, guys?
How about that? I love your first line, which is, face it, we all knew the REM would break down. We did. We just didn't know it would be on day one, did we?
No, listen, we're the delays and this and that. But here's the thing. I swear to God, I'm watching this story unfold on the weekend, right? 120,000 people over 2 days, food for free, and nothing's going on. And so help me God, because I'm a lifelong Montrealer, and I've been in this province all my life. I'm thinking this is like the first 20 minutes of a disaster movie. You know what I mean? The ones they made back in the 80s. Everything's normal, everything's fine, but something's going to happen. And I got to tell you, my buddy Jason Magner was doing a live hit from Central Station this morning, and I hate to say it, but there was almost a sigh of relief on my part when I saw, okay, you know what has happened? Because you have this after your mind that something's going to go on. And, of course, it was the ever-popular, it was the problem with the switcher, the rail switcher. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I'm getting like the late stress syndrome, flashbacks to what they went through in Ottawa with the LRT. And I'm thinking, no, it can't be this. It can't be this. And let's hope that it isn't this. But my goodness, what a terrible thing to have happen. Public transit is a matter of confidence, especially when it's a for-profit enterprise the way the REM is. And here we have a lot of people, I don't know, they probably got their tickets, and they're probably asking themselves the question. They're going to say, I'm going to give it one more day, and if it screws up again, I'm back in the car. But how crazy is that to have the whole contest, to have, the whole 9 yards, and then just to have this really stupid breakdown. People stuck on the bridge, people, very angry. And of course, the horror scene out in Brossard with the shuttle buses and this and that. I'm thinking, we already have a metro that does that when there's a breakdown. My gosh, they're obviously using their plan B, emergency plan, a lot sooner than they expected. And quite frankly, when the spokesperson for the REM says, well, there's a breaking in period that we have to go through. Ugh. And I'm thinking, you break in running shoes, I didn't pay $6 billion for a pair of sneakers here. Mm-hmm. This thing should be working. And I have a sneaking suspicion, I hate to say it, but I've already said it about the first day, I don't think this is the last time we'll be talking about the REM, guys.
No, of course
Listen,
not.
and I think everyone would agree it's not going to be. But my problem, we did this as a question earlier in the show, Jim, and my problem, I think Natasha and I both sort of are on the same page on this one. It's the idea that you can say you have a contingency plan, a plan B, a plan C, but in reality, okay, so it's day one, you have a problem. That contingency plan was nowhere to be found today. We heard from people calling Elias' show today saying, wait a sec, there was no bus, or there was one bus for 300 people. How could that even have happened?
Well, if I remember from watching Earthquake and the Towering Inferno, they didn't have contingency plans either.
Oh, that's great.
Which just goes back to my disaster film scenario. And frankly, God forbid, but I think there may be a sequel in this series. That's all I'm going to say, because what are you going to do? You're stuck on the bridge. Nothing is working. The trains aren't moving, and that was a real nightmare scenario for some people. I don't know about you, but when I was talking to people about using the REM, And I know a couple of Montrealers, okay, they got nothing to do with the REM, but they hopped on the REM on the weekend because, all the other kids were doing it. But the thing is, the worst case scenario was, can you imagine? You're on a train with no driver, you're stuck on the bridge, and you can't get out.
I sense a movie script.
That is a movie script. That's what he's basically saying.
Yeah, it is, exactly.
I'm just trying to wonder who's going to lose a job or whatever for not having, those buses be ready on day one. Look, forget about breaking in period. At some point there's going to be a problem, somewhere along the line here. We already have come to expect that. To not be able to simply press a button and the next guy whose job it is to say, send 20 buses out there, make sure they go. How that doesn't happen, I don't understand.
Well, there may be a little bit of hubris involved here as well. And don't forget, and I've mentioned this warning in so many other contexts, the worst thing you can do is believe your own PR. And I think the idea here, I'm not saying it was quite, like the people with the Titanic saying this ship can't sink, but they were saying this is a new chapter in public transit. Yeah. There's so much riding on this, and we've dotted all the I's and crossed the T's. And as you say, basic, how the hell do I get off this thing if it's not working? And it was quite chaotic. So once again, I think the big test wasn't today. I think the big test is going to be tomorrow. The big test is going to be whether people say, okay, I'll give him one more chance, or some of those people who are on the bridge are going to say, you know what, I don't think so. And of course they're going to have to take their cars, because the other system they had, and I was mentioning this last week, that I used when I lived on the South Shore, super efficient. You pick up a bus a couple of blocks from your house, goes across the bridge, dumps you off on De la Gauchetière. You go home the same way. They have eliminated all that because, as I say, this is a for-profit enterprise, and they don't want any competition. So there's no more express buses going over the Champlain Bridge. So once again, a lot of pressure on the REM, and indeed on the reputation of public transit in Montreal, because let's face it, guys, this is supposed to be the future, and at least for today, the future was delayed by more than an hour.
What a nightmare.
Yeah, nightmare indeed.
Let's squeeze in this one, too. So cigarettes tomorrow will be scarier. That is if you can actually read the packaging, if you have a magnifying glass, perhaps, because it's going to be teeny tiny.
Well, no, you don't have to worry about that, because it seems to me, I'm looking at the stories on this. Canadian Press with something, because we've discussed this in the past as well, and apparently they want to ratchet up the luridness of the photos they use on cigarette packs.
Oh, okay.
I remember I was joking about this years ago. It's like, I can deal with everything but the eyeball, okay? But then I got used to the eyeball, but now apparently I'm looking at one right now. It's a very lurid picture of neck cancer, which I didn't even know was a thing. However, cigarettes damage your organs, which is going to be printed on each and every cigarette. But, fear not, folks. The first round of those don't come out on, it'll be July 2024 on king-size cigarettes, and then the little cigars and all the other smoking things that are bad for you, that'll be April 2025, which leads me to conclude, guys, they're all doing this by hand.
Oh, that's a nice touch. Maybe some local artisans will be involved in this one. That'd be nice.
That is money well spent.
Calligraphy? Yeah, that'd be so a lovely touch. That would be on cigarettes.
I'd have various fonts and things. Why not?
Yeah, you collect those. I don't know. When this story first broke, I thought look, I understand we want people not to smoke. I get it. People, I think, have a pretty good idea that smoking is not good for you. And this seemed to me almost like overkill. But then again, I understand that kids, I guess primarily, maybe not all, are buying not packs of cigarettes, but they could be buying one or two at a time. Maybe this is designed for them. I don't know.
Kids are vaping, let's face it.
I don't know.
Well, kids are vaping, but I got to tell you, of all the ex-smokers I know, 90% of them quit because of the price. Because they said, I'm just crazy here. Yeah. I'm spending like $400 a month to give myself cancer.
Well, you think, why not just, then again, if it's worked and we know that numbers have gone down, the obvious answer would seem to me, instead of doing this print a warning on every single cigarette, hike the prices again. If it worked before, why won't it work again?
Oh, that's all very well and good for you to say, but you know what, Aaron? I'm spending $400 a month to give myself
all right, there
cancer.
You go.
I don't think that's a very good idea.
I was waiting for that. Hey, Jim, it's good to be back. Thanks so much. We'll talk again tomorrow.
Adamant.